Hey, good morning, everybody. How you doing? I'm Sean Lutz coming to you from my home studio set up here in Dallas, Texas. Today is November 14th, 2025. This is going to be episode number 12 from Sea to Light Sports, Detroit Red Wings NHL update. Last night, we had Anaheim come into Little Caesars Arena, squaring off against our Detroit Red Wings, coming off of a 3-game slide there, needing to right the ship and get a win, gain some ground on the Eastern Conference, which is tight. Let's just jump right into it, folks. It's kind of what we do around here. How did this start? First period, we came out, we looked pretty good. I think right off the bat, I think we were a little bit too leaky for my liking. We had some opportunities where I thought we could have probably scored, but I think we were a little bit too leaky. I think Gibson played. In the first period alone, I don't know how many scoring chances they got, but I counted 3 where they were 3 really great saves by Gibson. We had some looks, but not quite as good as they had. But nonetheless, come out unscathed after after one period of being leaky, but not playing too bad. Being 0-0, tied after one, I felt okay. But let's just move along right into the second period, folks. At the 5:57 mark on the power play, Mo Sider from a wrister, a C&I wrister from the blue line, gives Detroit a 1-0 lead on the power play. Make note that's a power play goal, and our special teams have been struggling the last few games. So it was great to see that power play goal on that one. And then, we always talk about our shifts after goals, and we had a good one there. We had a good opportunity there to, to make it a 2-0. We had a 2-on-1. We weren't able to convert, but shortly after that, Anaheim comes down at the 7:35 mark with Gauthier. He knots it up at 1-1, and they that was a leaky play that I was talking about. It was a 2-on-1 we gave up, but they were able to convert on there with Gauthier. And then we responded well after that. We played back and forth for a little bit. We traded some punches, and then you had Rasmussen, blind squirrel. They find nuts too, folks. Michael Rasmussen comes down. Man, he made a sick move. A little bit delay shot, to use the defender as a sort of a screen and then just roofed it. Sweet shot. And it's great to see Rasmussen get a goal there without, with a goalie in the net. But nonetheless, that gave Detroit a 2-1 lead there and close to the midpoint of the second period. And then, that didn't last long, the shift after goal. This Anaheim team, man, they are resilient as fuck, man. They do not let up. They always want to answer right back, and they did. You had Chris Kreider at the 14:54 mark, knotted up at 2 apiece. Like I say, they're resilient, and so are we. Shortly after that, at the 15:33 mark, you had ASP. Yes, folks, head out to Arby's. We got 3 goals. There's free curly fries for you today, folks. ASP at the 15:33 mark gave Detroit a 3-2 lead, where it stayed headed into the third period. Let's just jump right into that one. 50 seconds into the third period on the power play, Alex DeBrincat, another power play goal for us, our struggling special teams play. Bam, nets his 5th, giving Detroit 4-2 lead. Cisco to Sider and Kaner on that one. But here we come again, man. Our resilient, mighty Ducks. They're not mighty, just the Ducks. At the 4:33 mark, you had Granlund come in, narrow the gap, make it 4-3, Detroit. How do we respond? We're resilient, shift after goal, and it was a good one. Dylan Larkin nets his 10th goal there with an assist going to Raymond and DeBrincat at the 5:06 mark. Detroit 5-3 with a 2-goal lead, playing onward. And we were trading punches. Make note that Talbot started the third. Gibson got clipped there towards the end of the second period. I'm not sure what his injury was, but I'm a little bit concerned about that. But nonetheless, back to the third period, you had DeBrincat get the empty netter there at the 17:59 mark, sealing the deal for Detroit Red Wings with a 6-3 final from Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, snapping their 3-game slide there. That'll bring us into our next game, which is going to be in at Little Caesars tomorrow, Saturday, squaring off against the Buffalo Sabres. Just some notes from that game. I thought our special teams, it was good to see us get a couple power play goals and a couple kills. But I think we were a little bit too leaky defensively. We can't give up odd man rushes like that. We gave up them way too many looks, but I'm stingy. I like tight defensive play. I don't like giving people chances. And we gave up way too many chances. So, and then I'm worried about Gibson on there. I think he really did a hell of a job in the first 2 periods, keeping us in it and giving us an opportunity to win. This was a strange game. Anybody could have taken this, but I think that the play in the first 2 periods kept us around, and the timing of it all. But nonetheless, that win right there got us back in the win column in the tight Eastern Conference, and that brought us into the wildcard slot in the second spot. So that's pretty good to see there. Let's just run through quickly in our last night's results here. I'm not going to run through them all, but these ones have implications in our conference and their tight race. But you had LA over Toronto 4-3 in overtime. Then you had Dallas spanked Montreal in Montreal. Dallas by a touchdown, 7-0. Martin St. Louis had a happy camper last night, folks. Then you had Boston over Ottawa 5-3. Florida over Washington 6-3. Then you had New York Islanders over Las Vegas 4-3 in overtime. Now let's look at the schedule that we got going on for today in the NHL. You're going to have Pittsburgh at Nashville. This is a global series, which is going to be it's a home and home from Stockholm, Sweden. So today's game is Pittsburgh at Nashville, 2 p.m. Eastern. This is going to be on NHL Network. I think the second game of this back-to-back is going to be Sunday. But both games are Pittsburgh-Nashville in Sweden, Stockholm. In other games tonight, you're going to have Vancouver at Carolina at 7 o'clock Eastern, Philadelphia at St. Louis at 8 Eastern, and then New York Islanders at Utah at 9 Eastern, way out west. That's a late one, folks. But anyway, let's get back to our Red Wings, huh? Let's take a quick look at the standings since it's pretty tight here. Like I said, that win moved us into the wild card slot. But in the Atlantic Division, we're going to have here. You got Montreal at 22, Ottawa, Boston at 22, and then you can see Detroit moved up to the 4th slot in 20, followed by Florida, Tampa, Toronto, and Buffalo. Buffalo, they're maybe fading away here, but you can see how tight that is, right? Not a whole heck of a lot of points there. So let's move on to when you look at the complete conference here, it is tight up here, folks. New Jersey Devils leading the pack there at 25 points, followed by Carolina. And then here comes our Atlantic, folks. You got Montreal at 22, Ottawa at 22, Boston at 22. Then you got Pittsburgh in the mixer with 21, Islanders with 20, Detroit with 20, Rangers with 20, Flyers with 19, Panthers with 19. And now you got the Blue Jackets in the mix here with 19 again. And then Tampa Bay with 18, in Toronto, and the Capitals. All you have really is Buffalo being separated down there at the bottom. Who knows? Are they going to come back and get in the mix? Oh, we got to take care of them tomorrow, folks. But let's look at the wild card since we're in that slot, right? Make note the top three teams in the Atlantic and the Metropolitan are already in. So these are the wild cards. You can see there that victory we got gave us, we're 10-7 now. So we're moved into the second spot there behind the Islanders, all tied with 20 points here, but the games in hand and then the tiebreakers. This is why it's imperative that we want, like I said, that you want regulation wins. You don't want you don't want to give up parity points. You want to win in regulation. You don't want to give up that extra point. And I think they mentioned it last night that when the tiebreaker went to the Washington Capitals, when we failed to convert in our last game of the year, we ended up, winning I believe it was a shootout when we relinquished the lead and gave it up when we should have had the 2 points. We would have been in the playoffs. So it's imperative you get regulation wins and not giving up a point. But then you can see how tight that is there. It's just not going to get any different. It's not going to get any looser than that. I think we're going to be. I usually don't watch the races, the wild card race this close, but we got 9 games left here, folks, in the month of November, and you can see how everything is lumped up here. It is super duper tight. So you can't not afford to have a 2 or 3 game stumble fall, or you could find yourself outside looking in pretty damn quickly. Like I said, we got 9 games left in November. Let's take care of business, and Thanksgiving coming up the end of the month as well. So, and we got a pretty tough schedule. It's not going to be easy. So it's not going to be easy the rest of the way. But let's take care of business and keep getting wins here. But that's going to wrap it up for this edition of Detroit Red Wings NHL Update, episode number 12. Sid Abel from See the Light Studios here in Dallas, Texas. Just want to say thanks for watching, everybody. Be kind and nice to everybody. Remember to see the light, and I'll catch you on the next one.